Everybody, welcome back. In this video, we are going to be adding another UI element to our login page, and specifically the element that is going to be responsible for our login button. So if I go back to the completed version of our application, the login button refers to this blue button that we have on our login page. So with that said, let's get into it and let's see how to do it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to the top of my build UI function. I'm going to go to the corresponding column, and there what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be adding some spacing between my page title and login form. To do that, I'm going to copy and paste a line in, which is just a size box widget with a height of device height times 0.04, and this should add the appropriate spacing that I require as part of the designs that we have. So now that we have this, the next thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to go down and I'm going to create a function, and I'm going to call this function underscore login button. So this function, as the name suggests, is responsible for building our login button. And then what this function is going to do is that it's going to return a rounded button. So return a rounded button, but there's no widget such as a rounded button. And that's because it's a custom widget that I had built that now we're going to be building. And then we're going to be coming back to our login page and adding it here. So to do that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to my widgets folder, and inside of my widget folder, I'm going to create a new file. And this time I'm going to call my file rounded underscore button dot. And then I'm going to open the file up. For this file, we are going to have a widget that's going to be responsible for generating a button, you could say. And the only package that we require access to is our material package. I'm going to create a class which I'll call our rounded button. And then this is going to extend a stateless widget. And then with this, I'm going to define the properties for our class. So first of all, we're going to have a title that's going to be displayed inside of our button. I'll call this the name for our button. Then we'll also have a width and a height, which defines the size of our button. So I'll say that a height as well as a final double width. And then finally we'll have a function which is going to be triggered when this button gets pressed. So I'll say that this is going to be a final function and it's going to be called on pressed. And then with this, I am going to define the actual constructor for the rounded button. So rounded button, and then I want these arguments to be named as well, so I'm going to add these curly brackets, and inside of these curly brackets we're going to do the same thing that we did for our custom text form field. We'll do required this dot name, then required this dot height, and then required this dot width, and then required this dot on pressed. With this, I'm going to go down and I'm going to create the build function, and with this, all of the errors should be gone. So for our build function, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to return a container. I'm going to give that container a height. This height will be whatever height gets passed in. And then the width is going to be the width of whatever width gets passed in. And then we'll have a child for now, and this child is going to be a text button. So that's a class given to us by Flutter. And then this text button is going to have an onPressed attribute. So that's just going to be in function, which is going to do nothing for now. And then with this, we'll also have a child, which will be a text child. And this text widget is going to have a text, which is going to be the name that gets passed in, and then a style for how the text is going to be styled. And that's going to be text style. And then inside of here, we'll have our font size, which is going to be font size 22. We'll have a color, which is going to be colors.white. And then finally, we'll have a height, which will be 1.5. And with this, I'll go to the end and I'll add a semicolon, and I'll do Alt-Shift-F, Command save, and just that's pretty much all we had to do. So with this, I'm going to go back to our login page, and I'm going to go to the top, and where we were importing our widgets, I'll import this file as well. So I'll do ./widgets/rounded button. And then I'm going to come down to where we had our rounded button being returned, and I'm going to click on the autocomplete. And then for the name, this time we are going to pass in login. And then login. So a string. Then similar to this, for the height, we'll have the device's height, and then we'll multiply that with 0.065. For the width, we'll take the device's width. So just let me do that, device's width, and then multiply that with 0.65, I believe. And then for the onPressed function, for now, we'll just have an empty onPressed function, add a semicolon at the end, and then I'm just going to add a comma here as well, and then command save. So our login button is not showing up, and that's because we've never added it to our column. So I'm going to copy our login button function. I'm going to go to the build UI function, and after our login form, I'm going to paste the function name in and add the brackets. And hopefully after doing this, our login button should show up. I want to add some spacing in between the login button and the form as well. So for that, what I'll do is that I'll just copy and paste in a similar widget to what we had done before. And that's just going to be a size box, but this time the height is going to be the device's height times 0.05. With this, the one last feature that I'd like to add to our actual button is the fact that it needs to have a background color. So for that, it's very simple. I'm going to go back to my roundedbutton.dart file. I'm going to define the decoration for our container. So the container's decoration attribute is going to be of type box decoration. And then inside of here, I'll have a border radius, and the border radius is going to be border radius dot circular. And then it's going to be the height that gets passed in times 0.25. And then similar to this, we'll have a color, which is going to be colors, or the color dot from red, green, blue, and opacity, and then it'll be 0, 82, 218, and then 218, and then 1.0. With this, I'll add a comma, do Alt-Shift-F, Command Save, and our button should now be displaying appropriately. And if we click on it, we can click on it as well. So with that, I'm going to end this video here. I'm going to see you guys in the next video, where we're going to be adding the final part to our login page, and that's going to be the text which tells us that if we don't have an account, we can actually go to our registration page and create that. So with that, thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video.